Let us cooperate for Guyana. Let us cooperate for our land. Let us resolve to work together. See we do it right together. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Each man must do his bit.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Public Interest. I'm Gabriella Patron. We're so happy that you can join us. With me is former President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana and leader of the People's National Congress Reform, Mr. David Granger. Sir, welcome. It's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Sir, I want us to continue our discussion on the relationships between Guyana and Suriname, more specifically the New River District. Based on that, my first question to you is, the Suriname government officials stated recently that sustainable solutions can be sought to the question of the New River District. What does Suriname mean by sustainable solutions?
It means that the Surinamese use of force has failed, and they're now resorting to other means. As you know, there was forceful occupation of the New River District, which was brought to an end in 1969. And after that, as you know, it was reported in the media that Suriname was actually planning an invasion in the 1990s. I think it might have been under that combination of Jules Wiedenbosch and Mr. Baltasy. So Suriname had been rearming, and they had been bent on, I assume, taking the New River District by force. But having failed to do that, they have now resorted to maybe suasion. They're probably planning a new approach in the form of joint development or some type of shared management of the district. Let me take a step back. Guyana and Suriname together are bigger than Germany. We are in possession of vast resources, and there is some strategic or geostrategic reason behind the Surinamese pursuit of the New River District. Taken as a whole, we can be much further along the road of economic development than we are at present. Suriname intends to be the main beneficiary. I would say that they are simply planning a new strategy, and they are bent on extending the domination. And I think they know they've hit a wall, trying to describe the New River District as the upper quarantine. It's not upper quarantine. The Kutari is upper quarantine. The New River is Guyanese territory. And I think the world recognizes that. And Suriname now recognizes that it has to change its approach. So they're calling for sustainable solution. But it's our territory, and we are responsible for managing it, and it's part of our patrimony. And the only way they'll get any sustainable solution is if it is managed by Guyana and not by Suriname. So there's not going to be any sharing of the development of that zone. I don't know what they have in mind, but certainly they must start by recognizing that the New River District is part of Guyanese territory. Full stop.
Sir, the two countries hold presidential summits frequently. What are the effects of these summits?
Summits are important. They're good, to boost the morale of both populations, and would reduce the temperature, reduce the tensions between the two countries. But they don't get much done. The work has to be done by the respective ministries of foreign affairs, by the bureaucrats, and that is where development, that is where the resolution of problems, you know, probably would hit a wall. Now, in our country, um, presidents, they don't sidestep the controversies, but in a 2-day visit, you cannot solve a 60-year-old territorial problem. It has to be solved by bureaucrats and historians and cartographers and, doing the engine room work. But in Suriname, there is a trend which indicates that there is a mindset, an uncooperative mindset, that anytime we move towards a solution, the bureaucrats and the diplomats just bring it to a halt by insisting that this, what they call Tigri, which we call Jaguar, should be put on the agenda. So Suriname has resorted to charm, and I think they feel that the time is propitious now that you have a new president and a new minister of foreign affairs to change the approach to the New River District issue. I would say that the presidential visits are necessary, but they cannot solve the territorial problem. Unfortunately, in the past, we had a president who tried to negotiate with the Surinamese, and we had to go to the international tribunal. Presidents don't negotiate borders. This is a border negotiation, territorial negotiation is a technical matter. We put it in the hands of technical people. When the work is done, the president would sign the agreement. But don't expect anything to come out of presidential visits. They're beautiful guards of honor and dinners and speeches. That's it. If you need problems solved, you have to have efficient bureaucracies. And this is where, this is a lesson the Guyana has to learn. You need efficient public servants, efficient foreign service officers, efficient foreign service institute, where young diplomats are trained. You can't fake experience. And I tell you what, those two persons in charge of Suriname, the president and the foreign minister, are experienced.
Sir, I'm subject to your correction here with the year. A border commission, or a Guyana-Suriname border commissions, was established in 1989. Do I have the year correct?
You have the year correct. It's about 32 years. It was under President Desmond Height. Yeah.
Okay. So why is the New River District question being raised now?
It's being raised again because for 32 years, we have failed to come to a solution. The first thing is that Suriname must acknowledge, it must accept that the New River District is part of Guyanese territory. And Suriname has used this argument or its resistance to obstruct every progressive move that Guyana has proposed over the years. Suriname's president, Mr. Santoki, has been in public service for over 40 years. Similarly, Suriname's foreign minister has been in some form of public service or diplomacy for around about the same time, since they graduated. They're about the same age. So they have come with a lot of experience, and I think they're trying to use industrial and commercial inducements in order to soften the resistance to their demands for the New River District. It wouldn't work. The New River District can be bartered because it gets benefits on the coast, shipping to Europe and port facilities. And the commissions, our commissions have a very clear mandate because it's our territory and we have to protect our patrimony. But the attempts by the Surinamese negotiators to introduce the question of sovereignty over the entire river, this area is bigger than Jamaica. It's a huge area. And over the years, 32 years, the commissions have always stumbled on the question of sovereignty. And the world recognizes the New River District as Guyanese territory, and Suriname is obstructing up to a few weeks ago. Soon after, I mean, literally a day after the president had announced that licenses would be issued, the leader of the Suriname opposition, Mr. Parmesar, said, what about Tigray? So Tigray is in the forefront of their mind. Suriname governments over the years have fed this fiction that Tigray is Surinamese territory and Guyana captured their territory and they want it back. And once that happens, I mean, this is like August 2021, the leader of the Surinamese opposition is still talking about Tigray. So that is the mindset behind the failure of the Border Commission. So it's not a question of a president here saying that, oh, it's not going to obstruct it. It has obstructed development. It has obstructed cooperation. And up to August 2021. And the president of Suriname has got to face his National Assembly. He's got to face his combination because it's not a one-party government. And the border commissions will not be able to achieve much until the Surinamese government indicates that it will drop its resistance to Guyanese ownership of the New River District. That's the story.
Sir, my next question is, how has Suriname's military policy changed, given that Guyana and Suriname has endured unsteady security relations over the years?
I'm glad you used the word endured rather than enjoyed. It is widely known that at the time that Mrs. Rodriguez was Minister of Foreign Affairs, over 10 years ago, it was disclosed that Suriname was planning an invasion of Guyana. I would say that for much of the last 20 years, Suriname has been rearming. It's not going to invade France, it's not going to invade Brazil. But Suriname has been developing very strong military relations with the United States of America, with France, with Brazil, with the People's Republic of China, and with the Netherlands. So there are lots of training missions. You've seen pictures of the Surinamese defense minister going to Beijing, going to France. They've acquired a lot of equipment, armored cars. There are a lot of training exercises. So Suriname has been paying a lot of attention to the development of its national army over the years. So it has changed a lot since what we call Operation Climax in Jaguar in 1969. And it is now much stronger, and it has enjoyed the support of several large countries around the world. It has purchased a lot of weapons. It has embarked on training missions from these countries. And it's much stronger than it was in 1969, I can tell you that. So its strategy has changed. Its military policy has changed. And in my interpretation, it is all designed to, maybe challenge Guyana militarily. If you pay attention to some of the remarks made by former President Vien, who came to Guyana, Venetian, we are the power, and the demonstration of the naval might in the ocean, in 2000 when they expelled the CGX platform. And the boastfulness, at one stage said they're the best army in northern South America. They've really taken the military propaganda and the military preparedness very far and very seriously. So the strategy has changed, and it is something that Guyanese military planners have to take into consideration.
Sir, once again, I'm subject to your correction and guidance. I hope that I have this correct. France sponsored a trilateral Guyana Shield strategic dialogue with Guyana and Suriname in August 2021. What is the expected effect on the Guyana-Suriname relations?
I can more easily answer that question if you rephrase it and say, what is the expected benefit of France?
Okay.
Because I don't think Guyana has much to get from it. It's very strange. We had a visit from a French general, I think, around April. And then this Guyana Shield, this is spelled Guiana.
Yes.
Now, the Guyana Shield is an ecological zone stretching from Colombia to northern Brazil. It incorporates, parts of Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, Guyana, and Brazil. So it's a huge area. It is the lungs of the earth. It is, a zone of fresh water and fresh air. It was a bit of a surprise that France should suddenly take interest in it. I think France is more interested in oil. It's more interested in petroleum. And it is clear that at this time, in 2021, the combined petroleum prospects or resources of Guyana and Suriname, world scale, world class. And the other thing we must bear in mind is that Guyana, or Guyana, as we call it, well, Guyanese call it Cayenne, but the correct name I think is Guyane, or Guyane Française. It's not a country. In fact, Cayenne is the only part of this continent which is still under European domination. Every other part of the country, of the continent, is independent. But France is only in Guyane because it is what they call a département, which is a sort of diplomatic fiction. That actually Guyane is part of France. They used to call it the Département d'Outre-mer, an overseas department. But the Space Center, the European Space Center, is a Kourou. So it is a strategic priority for France to hold on to Cayenne. And France is not interested in any sort of instability on this northern rim of South America. So they're looking at not the development of Guyana, they're looking at the prevention of disorder, which could upset their own strategic interests in Guyana. If France was really serious about, Guyana Shield, they have to involve Brazil. And this is what I said in a previous book, you have to involve Brazil. You cannot speak of Guyana Shield without Brazil, but France wants to be a V power. France doesn't want to create a community of interest in northern South America involving Brazil. And that is where Guyana must see or search for France's motivations and objectives. Because Guyana doesn't have assets. We don't have the capacity to fulfill our obligations under this agreement. Most Guyanese don't know what the agreement is about. But France obviously intends to throw its weight around. And I don't know what arrangement they have with Suriname, but certainly the arrangement with Guyana under the so-called Guyana Shield strategic dialogue is very shallow, very hollow. And the Guyanese people deserve to know more about what is intended, and it needs to be exposed. What is in it for Guyana? We don't know. And as far as I'm concerned, it is something that the French Republic invented, and I don't know how Guyana would benefit. So as far as I'm concerned, we have signed on the dotted line. We've tied ourselves into an agreement. Where it will take us, we don't know. Guyana does not have the assets. Our foreign ministry does not have the resources, and we don't know where France is leading us to. So it is a difficult question to answer at this time. I hope that, hope is not a strategy, but it is my expectation that the Minister of Foreign Affairs will bring the agreement before the National Assembly, and that the people of Guyana get a clear picture of what France is up to, or what France and Suriname are up to. But we are certainly in the dark.
So based on everything that we would have discussed today, and then sharing and continue to read, Suriname is still challenging, or still challenges Guyana's sovereignty of the new river district. What is the way forward for Guyana's territory?
First of all Guyanese must understand that the new river district is an integral part of Guyanese territory. And Suriname has to acknowledge that as well. We cannot move forward as long as Suriname pretends that this is a zone of reclamation, and that one of these days they will invade and seize it or take it back. So that is the first principle. The New River District is Guyanese territory, and we must let our people understand, our diplomats must understand. No funny maps, no international scenes. We must start by recognizing and respecting each other's territorial boundaries and our sovereignty. Suriname must accept also that we are not going to barter. We're not going to bargain. Just as we're not going to bargain, Oaktown or Demerara, Port Ryan or Freedom Hoop. It's an integral part of our territory. And if they need to make any investments, they can come up on the table above board and make those investments. There are over 24 Surinamese companies in Guyana already. And many Guyanese are celebrating the fact that Surinamese have penetrated our economy in ways that Guyana has not penetrated the Surinamese economy. You couldn't go down Church Street and buy bread from Suriname or meat from Suriname. Suriname's insurance company, Suriname opticians. And Suriname has penetrated deeply into our economy. And it is my perception. I'm not complaining about it. This is, we're part of the Caribbean community. But I would say that, trade must be fair, and there must be equal opportunities for Guyanese entrepreneurs to operate in a Surinamese market, Surinamese environment. But in the final analysis, territorial integrity and the sovereignty of Guyana over its land is supreme. And I think that's the biggest obstacle that has upset us, upset development over the years. This is a question that has affected us. If you look at the outcome of the 2 presidential visits, fishing licenses, the question of the right of Guyanese of indigenous descent in Oriala or Siparu to fish, this is sometimes innocent passage. Guyanese have been hassled, and there are bitter memories of the CGX matter the bitter memories of the harassment that's taken place over the years by the Surinamese Navy and the Surinamese Armed Forces. So I would say that we have learned a bitter lesson, and the way forward is for Suriname to get out of this mindset and start to acknowledge that Guyanese territory is for Guyanese, and any development will be taking place between equals. Suriname has a way of talking down to us, and when they don't get what they want, they harass our citizens. There was a time on the Bouterse when I think he was in this dictatorial mode. They expelled, I think, about 15,000 Guyanese and Haitians. Just people who are just unpacking. We've endured a lot from Suriname. And Suriname needs to come to its senses and treat Guyanese as equal. If they want any form of shared development, there's no point, signing agreements. Agreements are not fulfilled. You can go to the foreign ministry or in either country and see stacks of unimplemented agreements. They're good at signing a drafting agreement, but not good at fulfillment. The bureaucracy holds us back all the time. So I would say that the way forward is for Suriname to accept Guyanese sovereignty over the New River District, and for Surinamese to start treating Guyanese diplomats and officials as peers, as equals. That's the way forward. And without respect for our sovereignty and without respect for our bureaucracy, Guyana-Suriname relations have nowhere to go.
Well, sir, it's always a pleasure to have you, and it's always a learning experience on my end. So thank you very much for being with me today. And to our viewers, we say thank you very much for joining us. On behalf of all of us here at Public Interest, we continue to encourage you to follow all COVID-19 guidelines. I'm Gabriela Patram. Goodbye.
Let us cooperate for the young. Let us cooperate for our land. Let us resolve to work together. See we do it right together. If we do it, yes we can.
Each man must do his thing.